This is KP4MD testing audio. Okay, are there any stations on frequency for our net tonight? It's KP4MD.
This N6PGQ, I'm here.
L7HQR, we're here as well. Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, good evening.
Okay, wow, everybody came back so fast, and I didn't even read the preamble, which I didn't have right at the moment. Let's see if I can pull that up. It's always good. Let's do that. Here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start. Good evening, this is Carol, Kilo Papa Mike Delta, your net control operator for the River City Arc Slow Scan Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz and also live stream on YouTube. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make any calls at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and the net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or your traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before I continue. Okay, and any station, okay, we've got a number of stations already got, which I'm going to go ahead and list. N6PGQ. I have as number 1. I believe I know AI6DG was in there. I think was number 2. Was the third one? The one in between, is that KL7HQR? Over.
QSL KL7HQR.
Okay, thank you. So we have 3 so far. Any other check-ins on the repeater? Please come now. Okay, no, we have on the YouTube chat, live chat, I have Craig in Whiskey Papatu November down there in hot Cajun territory, he says, with no Delta breeze. And he says good evening to the River City Arcs, Slow Scan TV Net. And also Alf, KN6 Papa Romeo Delta, says hola people, that's our alien life form. Alf. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and start. We're going to go down the list. I'm going to start at the top of the list here. N6PGQ. If you have a picture ready to transmit, We're ready to copy. Over.
Okay, this will be PD 120 and 6 PGQ.
Okay, thank you very much for that picture, Bob. I can tell you what I got here. Pretty clear picture. Was just getting a little noisy down at the bottom there, and that's I've got some multipath QSB signal fading on my end here. But looks like I guess it's a pizza place. It's called Tracktown Pizza, with a cartoon character on top of the sign. It looks kind of a little bit like Donald Duck with a chef hat on. Is carrying a pizza on a tray there. And the sign below that says late night deal 10 to 11. And I suppose this is some place where you were and you took this picture. See some overhanging telephone and power wires there. In the foreground there's to the left is a white car. I'm not sure what kind of car that is. Another, well, actually it looks like three white cars, all side by side over there. And another car, it looks like a black car in the street. Pretty much partly cloudy sky there. But interesting. I wonder what the story is behind this. I'm going to go down to the next in line, which is Neil, and I want to welcome Neil back from his tour around the United States. KL7HQR, go ahead, please. This is KP from D.
Yes, here we go. And Bob and everybody, I didn't catch who else was there. I think Joel was there. Good copy here. No problem at all. Very clear. Your description was right on. You didn't mention the utility poles, but you did mention the power lines. It was very, very thorough. I'm just curious on what the late night deal between 10 and 11 is, and I wonder if Bob was there. I know Bob just came back from a long road trip, and I wonder if it is on the northwest there. So back to that.
Okay, thank you for that, Neil. We'll turn over to Joe. AI6TG, your turn over.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So we're up in front, close to a strip mall, advertising sign for a store. So we've got a little bit of the street on the right, and some buildings of the strip mall on the left, and a really shallow parking lot. It looks like there's only room for 3 or 4 cars to park side by side. They're all behind the sign. Power line, the very edge of a pole on the very upper right corner. Another power pole, probably 40 feet down the road. So it's kind of dead in center on the right. So you got the usual, cable, telephone, low 110 voltage, high voltage up on top, and some feed lines on the extreme upper part of the frame going back to the strip mall. Yellow awnings on the building to the left with a green each roof, and the sign, big sign in the center foreground. Yep, a duck does kind of look like Donald, but he's wearing a chef's hat and running across something with a pizza in his hand, and big yellow letters with the, green letters with the yellow background, Tracktown Pizza, late, and then in green letters, late night deal, 10 to 11. Don't recognize this, don't know if it's in Sacramento or not. Could be, might not be. Above ground electrical, above ground everything. Not the ham friendly. Green trees in the background on the right. Blue sky. Yep, could be Sacramento, could easily not be. Nothing that really tells you anything one way or the other. Back to net, AI6TV.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We'll turn it back up to Bob to fill us in on this. Over to you, Bob, KP4MD.
Well, we're all given great pictures of Yosemite and cruise lines, and this shows you kind of my status. Anyway, this picture was taken in between rain showers a couple of days ago in Eugene, Oregon, right across the street from the University of Oregon. And as you can tell from Tracktown, the University of Oregon is a very strong track competitor in NCAA. In fact, they just built an absolute phenomenal brand new track stadium, which is why you don't see any of the Olympic trials in Sacramento anymore. Let me let this drop. My son, number one son, graduated from the University of Oregon, and this is kind of one of the places he'd go and eat. So he told us that we had to stop and eat, and so I took a picture of the pizza sign, and I'm presenting it to you. As I mentioned earlier, we went to the CPAC conference in Seaside, Oregon, and decided we weren't going to be total morons and drive back starting at 2 o'clock when the conference ended on Sunday, so we stopped in Eugene and got a hotel room just down the street from Tracktown Pizza, and we both had a piece of pizza and then headed back to Sacramento area. Anyway, that's all I can tell you about it. If there's any questions, let me know. N6PGQ.
Okay, the N6PGQ is KP4MD. Oh, I can really dig that. Some place that has a value of nostalgia value from your college years. I to this day can when I actually go by the freezer section in the supermarkets here and I see White Castle hamburgers. Of course, there are no White Castle hamburger stores around here, but there was one right across the street from my college, and it was a place where students very often got a very low cost lunch, very reasonable back then. So and I certainly did that as well. So very good. Nice to indulge in a little bit of nostalgia there from college days. Any other comments about this before we proceed, KP Fremdy?
7HQR. I just want to let you know about that while the picture was coming, I was doing a search now with the internet now, and sure enough, I saw the sign at Eugene, Oregon. So, and you had mentioned to me that you had spent the night there. So, how good was the pizza?
They were good pizzas, and that is not a Donald duck. That's a Oregon, University of Oregon duck. So anyway, yeah, they were good pizzas. You had to wait a long time and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think I'll drive to Eugene for a pizza. N6 PGQ.
Thank you very much, KL7HQR. Back tonight.
Okay, thank you for that picture. Next in line would be Neil, KL7HQR. And I wonder if you have any pictures to share with us from your wanderings around the country. Over.
Yes, we have one not related to this trip. This is one that I had prepared way back when I last operated, and we've run out of time. But it's going to be PD1 train. Okay, I have to set my transmit here at my tone, so go ahead, Carol, and go home with Joe. I'll pick it up after him.
Okay, yeah, we'll jump ahead to Joel if you're ready to send AI6GG.
Tone test. Let me know if there's a tone following this.
No tone.
One moment. Let me struggle.
KL7HQR, I may have had a tone now.
Yes, that was a tone. You can go ahead, please.
7HQR. I do not think that was a good transmission. Did anything go out at all?
Yeah, we got everything down to the N6NA SSTV Net with your call sign, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Giving it another try.
Okay, KL7HQR and the group. This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta. I copied it pretty well over here. I was getting a lot of what do you call snow towards the bottom of the picture. My picture I copied, and that's because I'm having some really severe multi-path fading on my end, and that's it just has to do with my reception. Things around my antenna moving around and uh, just causing the signal strength to dip way down, practically into the noise. I'm sure nobody else had that problem. But the top half of the picture was relatively clear, good, nice, clear blue sky, and looks like some historical type buildings there on a corner. Um, Not sure where it would be. It looks a little bit almost like old Sacramento, but I don't think it is. And nice bright. I think it's probably a morning. The way the sun is so bright, and kind of some long shadows there. So, am I right or wrong? I don't know. Let's see. Is this old Sacramento? Could be. I turn it over to Bob, N6PGQ. What do you think? Over.
Well, the quality of the picture was very good, and at the very bottom in the foreground is, the asphalt road, and the quality came through very good here. In the almost middle left, looks like maybe a hitching post or something to that effect, a wooden bar there, and then the brick building with a balcony around it in the foreground. Some other older buildings, a painted sign next to the brick building that my guess might be Stetson, but I don't know. I don't think this is Old Town Sacramento. The road doesn't look quite right. Anyway, there's my take on the thing, and good quality picture and very, very few pixel pops in 6PGQ.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Turn it over to Joel, AI6DG. Did you copy that, and how did you copy? Over.
Excellent reception, relatively few pops, lots of blue sky at the top, and lots of cement or pavement on the bottom. We're looking kitty corner across an intersection at a row of old historical style buildings on the far kitty corner. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 old storefronts with the big red brick building in the front, like it's been described, with like saloon doors on the corner going inside on the corner, and a balcony, red brick. Says something, blah, 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 blah. I can't quite read it. White. The next one to the left is Stetson. Another white storefront, and another storefront with red with, I don't know, a logo or print at it. I can't quite read it. And it could be a horse hitch, but it could also just be something to keep cars from driving back there. It's kind of hard to tell. Looks a little big for a horse hitch place. And I agree, I don't think this is Old Town Sacramento. I'm not super familiar with Old Town. There could be something like this there, but that's an awful lot of street. And I'm just not sure that the streets are that wide down there, and it doesn't look familiar. It could easily be a dude town somewhere, even alongside the road freeway somewhere between LA and Las Vegas or something crazy like that. Anything to get people off the road and spending money. And there are some actually casino-style resorts like this down there. Anyway, I guess I got Las Vegas on my mind, preoccupied. Want to hear more? Back to net, AI6DG.
Okay, thank you very much, Joel. Alf, KN6PRD, also says it looks a lot like Old Sac. That particular building on the corner kind of resembles a little bit the building where the Wells Fargo Museum is. And I know the Sacramento Visitors Center was in there, just to the left of that, where we did some operating. It was also the Pony Express terminus. uh, back during the National Parks on the Air. We operated there one day in April. I think it was 2016 when they did the National Parks on the Air, and that was a lot of fun. So it used to be the Pony Express terminus, and then it turned into the Western Union station when the telegraph wires reached Sacramento. They didn't need the Pony Express anymore, but this is probably not that place. Just saying. So over to you there, Neil, and maybe you can fill us in on what this really is, KP for MD.
Yeah, it's KL7HUR. Well, you're all correct in the sense that it is cowboy old-style historical buildings, and it is downtown, but it is downtown Tombstone, Arizona. Some time ago, I used to go and do audits in our pizza down at the Arizona-Mexico border, and drove right through Tombstone, and we took some pictures. The big brown building in the corner, it's claimed to be the Crystal Palace Saloon, and which is still a saloon. I have never been inside. I usually go by there. Somebody mentioned, I think Carol mentioned, during the morning on the way to work, and didn't take the time to stop at a saloon at that time. But it is, it's quite impressive. Of course, the shootout in OK Corral is supposed to have taken place there, and there was all kinds of tourist attractions related to that. But it's a nice building. I stopped there several times, but always quickly. And it was very quiet when I was there, so I did not miss the tourist rush there. But that's basically what it is, Crystal Palace Saloon in Tombstone, Arizona. Back to it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, sharing the picture of Tombstone, Arizona. And I have to say that I think maybe some of the architecture in these old western towns kind of resembled each other, because that Crystal Palace looks an awful lot like that historic building. It's a national monument there on down in old Sacramento, where the Wells Fargo Museum is. Same kind of covered sidewalk there with the balcony with the railing on the top, going around. Very good. Thank you very much. Next, if there are any other comments, otherwise we'll go over to Neil. Joel, AR6DG's KP for MD. Yeah, Joel, can you please go ahead and send your picture? We're ready.
Was there tone?
Yes, there was tone this time.
Was it good volume?
Yep, yeah, it sounded good and loud to me.
CD120.
Okay, this is KP4MD. Again, I was getting a lot of multipath fading at the end of that picture. My problem here, signal strength was fading down into the noise, and I wonder if that has to do with the weather, and maybe there's a temperature inversion. It's causing some multipath. Anyhow, interesting. Looks like a billboard or some kind of humorous sign with some cartoon drawings on it. Recommended distance: 2 gulls fighting over a sourdough bread bowl. And I could see the gentleman on the left and what looks like a lady on the right holding a dog by a leash. And between them on the sidewalk, there's 2 gulls each one pulling at a sourdough bread bowl. The down below that, it's kind of hard for you to make through the snow that I particularly have. It says 2 gulls and 1 bread bowl equals approximately 6 feet. When in doubt, blah blah blah. For everyone's safety, something space, more space maybe. I can't read that very clearly. It's my problem here because of the reception here was just fading really bad there. So let's go back up to Bob, N6PGQ. How did you copy that over?
Well, I copied it well. There it looks like there's a sign in the foreground and a walkway or something with someone's head peeking over the sign in the upper right-hand corner. I was able to read it. It says recommended distance, and it has an arrow pointing towards the person on the left and another arrow pointing to the person on the right. It says 2 gulls fighting over a sourdough bread bowl. A couple of pictures of birds pulling on a bread bowl, and the person on the right has a dog on the leash that's kind of pointing towards the birds. And it says at the bottom, 2 gulls and 1 bread bowl equal approximately 6 feet. When in doubt, leave extra space for everyone's safety. Looks like a humorous attempt to have some social distancing. And there's in the drawing behind the guy, it looks like a pier of some sort. So this probably is at a beach somewhere or near the ocean. So it's a very cute little picture, and you wonder if it's still there. N6PGQ.
Thank you for that description, Bob. How about you, Neil? What did you copy over?
Yeah, I had a very good copy as well. It's surprising. Usually you have a very good copy over there, Carol. I'm looking at what you got by the YouTube. It's definitely there's some issues there. But a very good copy. I'm not going to go through the description, so everything else has been described, except it looks like there was a little palm tree there in the center behind the sign. But knowing Joel, I know this must be has something connected with Yosemite. Maybe Yosemite Harbor, but I'm having a hard time connecting this to Yosemite, so I'll let him decide to let us know where this came from. But good copy. Back to that.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, there's some issue with the signal path to me here. You can see if you're listening over YouTube as the picture's coming over to me, the signal strength really fades way down, and the tone gets very, very noisy. The meter goes practically down to 0, like it's going to go down into below where the squelch is and just drop out. And occasionally it does do that, but not on that picture. So yeah, there's something about my reception here, and I have a tree that's relatively close to the antenna, and I think what's happening is we are having some destructive interference, multipath there happening with any movement of the tree there. So over to you, Joel, and could you please explain this? This is KP4MD.
It's possible that my audio level was and modulation was a little low. I'm having trouble with bad RCA connectors from the audio interface into the Behringer USB sound card I use, or sometimes get bad ground connections in 60-cycle hum, and I've had a couple of reports in both directions of audio levels either being gone or out. So I need to crimp some connectors and squeeze some things and try to make sure I get solid electrical contact rather than this little wiggly thing that comes and goes as I bump it. It's getting harder and harder to surprise you guys because so many of my pictures are so much of the same thing. So I wanted to find something different. And I did a trip to San Francisco over the weekend. I took a zillion pictures, but almost all of them would have been instantly identifiable. And I saw this down. But if you really make it full screen, you might notice that in the upper right of the sign, there's a National Park Service logo, and in the upper left it says National Park Service, U.S. Department of the Interior, San Francisco Maritime National Historic Park. And so this is right on the beach, right on the bay, by the Maritime Museum, which is right at Ghirardelli Square. So probably if I lifted the camera up a couple of feet, you would have seen Ghirardelli Square, the big the building and sign in the background. And I just thought this was so humorous. I mean, yes, they're very much restrictive in their masking and their social distancing rules down there, and want everyone to be aware of and try to social distance. And this is their humorous way of reminding people of that. And yes, there were lots of seagulls down there, although they weren't enough to be the swarm type where you throw a piece of bread up in the air and it never hits the ground. But probably that way some of the time, obviously, as the sign indicates. Back to that, yes.
Okay, yeah, I did want to comment that in the very beginning of your transmission, to me it sounded like your modulation did drop momentarily and it came back up. But for the rest of the transmission, your modulation was perfectly fine. But the S meter, my received signal strength was varying. It's from half scale going practically down to 0. And that has nothing to do with you. If anything, it could have something to do with the repeater, because I'm not listening to you directly. I'm listening to, of course, the repeater output. If the repeater was steady to all of you, which I'm understanding is the case, what I'm having here is variations in the radio signal strength, probably, as I said, due to multipath, unless there's something defective in the front end of my receiver, which I haven't had on any other frequency, so I really can't answer that. So, yeah, Alf said there's a lot of QRN tonight. Yeah, I was hearing a few of the pixel pops. Not seeing really very many pixel pops on pictures, though. I was hearing it just a little bit there in the background. Any other comments about this, KP from D?
Oh, I have a question. Since you're right there at the Maritime Museum, did you go on any of the ships in there?
No, the extent of my time in the Ghirardelli Square area was to get a Ghirardelli a chocolate lover's milkshake, scarf that down, and then go get in line for the cable car. And this was just as the sun was going down. The sun and the wind was picking up, and I just absolutely froze to death waiting in line. But most of the day was actually in that area because I started at basically Moscone Center Market and Powell, and then walked down the Embarcadero a little bit, and then crossed over to Coit Tower, and then took Lombard all the way down to Van Ness, spending some time around the crookedest street portion, and then down to Ghirardelli Square. And by then it was 5 or 6. I don't know. It was pretty late, so I wasn't there for playing tourist on the Maritime Museum area, all the other stuff, but I didn't have time. Maybe another trip back to NSA6TG.
Okay, Joel. Well, if you ever happen to have a chance to go in there, about 40 years or so ago, I was a volunteer on the steam tug Hercules, which is berthed there, and I'm amazed I'm still alive because in the old days we would use needle guns and strip the paint off the boilers and paint the deck with boiled linseed oil and powdered red lead. So it was a different era, N6 PGQ.
Being a kid or even a parent, what nowadays versus 20, 30, 40 years ago, going to school, I mean, so many things have changed. The things that we used to do just running around town and the neighborhood would be, outlawed. You'd get your parents in jail nowadays.
Yeah, I've got an interesting piece of statistics here. I was doing some reading about the effect of leaded gasoline and leaded paint on the prior generation, and they actually have measured a overall statistically significant increase in the IQ of people after there was a removal of lead from the ethyl gasoline that had the lead additive, tetraethyl lead, and when they removed lead from paint. So there may be some truth when children are complaining that their parents are stupid. Over. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a shock, but it's there is statistically significant, wonderful intervention in public health to get the lead out of the environment, and it has been significant, statistically significant. Uh, Maybe a whole generation was dumbed down by that, and apparently it is true. So very good. Any other comments? If not, I will go ahead and send a picture. Okay, this will be PD 120. Okay, over to you, Bob, N6PGQs, KP4MD.
Okay, well, we have a cartoon, and it has a character holding his piece of paper up that says he proudly earned the General Mobile Radio Service license, and it says GMRS on the right, and he has his call sign, Whiskey Romeo Quebec Foxtrot 495, and it compares to mine, which is Whiskey Romeo Foxtrot Lima 875. So I didn't know I got a little certificate when I got my GMRS license, but he's happy to have gotten his N6PGQ.
Okay, very good. How about you, Neil, at KL7HQR, over?
KL7HQR, very good copy. No problem at all. Very clear picture. Just like Bob says, the colors came out very light, very brightly. I am claiming my ignorance. I am not familiar with the GMRS, and the call letters seem to be a little different. So I would be curious to be enlightened a little bit on what kind of service this is. But good copy. Back to that.
Okay, thank you. And over to you, Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead, please.
Excellent reception, a reasonable number of pops, bar across the bottom, across his chest, I guess, from the repeater ID. I'm also not familiar with GMRS. I would like to know more about it. And wow, that call sign looks weird, but that's just what I'm used to. But he sure looks proud. The cartoon character. And wow, it says, proudly earned. Yes, he's proud. Back to that, yeah, 6DG.
Okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, Alf also says WRMZ722 here. So apparently Alf also has a GMRS license. Okay, well, you know, this is kind of like a little parody picture because if you go on some of the social media feeds, you'll have people say, "Oh, I just passed my general today," you know, and or passed my technician or my extra, and everybody says, "Congratulations, congratulations! It's quite an accomplishment." Well, the only accomplishment that this is you need to know to go online and fill out the blanks, and just with your personal identification information, and send in the payment, and you've got your license. So if you've got the minimal amount of intelligence to do that, you will earn this license. It has no testing whatsoever. So that's what it is. And by the way, that is my new call sign. So there you go. Any comments, KP4MD?
What does the license allows you, entitles you to do?
Okay, this is it's a kind of like a remnant from the old Class A Citizens Band. Class A was yeah, it's a paid license. That's what Alf says. Class A Citizens Band was started in the 1940s. It was in the range of 460 to 470 megahertz, and at that time the equipment was really prohibitively expensive. It was intended to be a personal communication service, and some businesses were encouraged to apply for that, and you can. Alf says, yeah, you can share the license with the family. If you're 18 years old, you can apply for this, and then all of your immediate family members can also use the radio under the same license. It could be spouse, children, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, immediate family. Actually, that is explained in Part 95 that they did clarify you could go that far. You cannot have it doesn't go a certain way, but it's pretty. I don't know if you can have in-laws. I think in-laws too, but it's it's a way for people to get a communication with radios without having to take any kind of technical test or anything. The equipment is very restricted. It's got a maximum of 22 channels. You cannot adjust frequencies between the channels or anything. They're channelized. It's kind of similar to a CB radio. And you can't do any tinkering inside because you would violate the type acceptance of it. And the frequencies are up in the 462 megahertz range. There's a total of 8 repeater channels, and input frequencies are 5 megahertz higher. They're up in the 467 megahertz range. The spacing, I believe, is 25 kilohertz between the 8 channels, and they sandwiched some interstitial channels in between there, between the 25 kilohertz channels that are used by the FRS, Family Radio Service, blister pack free walkie-talkies that you see sold in the big box stores. The ones that say they'll talk up to 35 miles, which of course they won't because they're limited to something like 2 watts. And the only way you're going to get a range like that is if you're talking mountaintop to mountaintop. But with GMRS, you do need a license to operate on the GMRS frequencies, and you can use up to 50 watts on the repeater channels. And there's some repeaters around here. One of them is one system actually has a couple of linked repeaters, one in the Bay Area and one up on a hilltopper behind Auburn, and they have a really good coverage of the Sacramento Valley area and the Bay Area as well. It's the Mountaintop Repeater Group. So yep, there are a number of ham operators that are also licensed and operate down there, and they can pretty much chit-chat the same way we do. It's but the difference is they can do business over those frequencies as well. They can use it for buying stuff and things like that. They can measure all that stuff. That we can't do anything that has to do with for profit. So that's the story. It's an interesting concept, and the reason I was interested in it is because let me drop the repeater a moment here. The reason I was interested is because there's a gentleman out in El Dorado Hills, W6WN. His name is Alan Thompson, and he has been really promoting this neighborhood radio watch, or radio for the rest of us. You know, after the wildfires and the threatening of the Oroville Dam burst, and people losing cell phone and utilities, they wanted to have a way of communicating when they were out in those remote areas up in the foothills. And this was a way that these people were able to get on quickly without having to study, you know, for technical stuff. And they weren't really interested in any of the ham radio, a lot of the ham radio stuff. They just wanted to have a quick and easy way to communicate for safety. So that's the story. Back to you, Neil. KL7HQR, KP from D.
N6PGQ.
That's a lot of information. I'm definitely going to go online and look into it. Obviously, I was familiar with the old style CB, but this looks like it's a little bit involved. Yep, I appreciate the information and the link. I'm going to take a look at it. Back to that KL7.
Yeah, I heard you, Bob. N6PGQ. You go ahead, please.
Well, adding a little bit to what Carol just finished saying, what they do is have a amateur radio operator as a hub that would have a GMRS license, and then the community members around them would have either inexpensive family radio system radios, or they've been able to repurpose Motorola handheld radios that have been surplused by government agencies. And the hams can, with GMRS, put an external antenna and run higher power than the family radio people can. Family radios do not have removable antennas and are limited in power. And so it's a whole network, and as Carol said, it's in wildlife or wildfire and maybe earthquake zones, and they're promoting it real well. He's spoken at Pacificon and online at a few of the different conferences and conventions and to radio clubs. He spoke to River City a couple of years ago, and it's a really good system, N6PGQ.
Okay, I'll just add that the license, it's easy to apply for. You just do it through the same ULS system. It says the online filing system. You have an FRN already from your ham license, and you can do that. And it used to be very expensive. It used to be $70 for 10 years, but at the same time they instituted the $35 license fee for ham licenses. They dropped the fee for the GMRS down to $35 as well. So they're both equal, $35 for 10 years, which isn't all too bad, and gives you access to that system. And thank you very much for sharing that additional information, Bob. Are there any other comments about this, KP FirmD? Okay, I'm going to add that this is GMRS operates under Part 95, which is the FCC rules that govern citizens band as well. And for you to legally use a radio there, it has to be Part 95 type accepted, which means there's no way that you from the panel can go in and change the frequencies to operate on frequencies you're not authorized and things of that nature. So it's supposed to be pretty much an appliance type radio. So people have been known to dial their Baofeng radios up there because they will work on those frequencies. And even though it's not legal, some people have done that. And some of the other Part 90 type radios that are wide open to operate on any of the business band frequencies, they can operate up there as well, but it's frowned upon by the FCC, of course. I did pick up a rig. I got a GMRS rig, which is Part 95 top accepted on Amazon. It's an Anytone AT779UV. They sell for like $99. It's a tiny little mini mobile radio that puts out 20 watts on the GMRS frequencies. And there's a little not very secret hack that you do to it, where you push a button down and turn the power on, and you can reprogram it. So it operates on the ham bands, but I guess they didn't give that information to the FCC before they got it type accepted. So it is type accepted for GMRS. Any other comments? This is KP FirmD.
Hello, thanks, Bob. This is a very interesting subject that deserves to be looked into. Thank you very much for the information.
Yeah, I have a question for Bob. What kind of radio do you use on GMRS?
Well, I've been searching for an affordable handheld to have in the house, and I haven't found one yet. So when I get one, we'll chat.
Oh yeah, and I know that you bought a whole batch full of Baofeng, so I'm not going to go any further into that area there. But yep, you're absolutely right. It's nice to have one that's type accepted. The the $99 radio I have, it's kind of like a Baofeng. It's essentially works the same as a Baofeng, but has a built-in amplifier for 20 watts. So it's it does get a little warm because the whole case is like a heat sink, and it's really tiny. The whole thing just fits right on the top of a palm of your hand. So interesting technology. Okay, we have done one complete round, and it's already past 10 o'clock. So I think we're going to call it a night. Do we have any further comments before we close the net? Oh, okay. So I'm going to go ahead with the script here. This is Killer Papa for Mike Delta, and we are now closing the River City Arcs Slow Scan TV net. This net meets every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the N6NA repeater 441.30 megahertz in Sacramento, and also live streamed on our YouTube channel. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate in our nets. We thank everyone who participated and hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is now officially closed at 10:04 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This is Carol Pop for Mike Delta wishing you all good evening and 73.